everyone, and welcome to Surviving UX, the safe place for design-related tantrums, manic episodes, and psychotic breaks. I am your host, Meg Kramer, and with me is Jessamyn Edwards, and we have another great guest to prod today with questions about surviving this amazing career. But first, Jessamyn, how was your week? How are you doing?
Pretty good. Made it through another week. Only had to take one sick day this week, so that was good. Dragged myself through 4 work days. But I have a wonderful story to share with you and our listeners about something that just tickled me to death this week. Basically, on a message board at work, I saw someone asking for free design services for their super exciting and important project. And would anybody have any hours to spare for what's essentially a part-time job? And I just couldn't believe my eyes that I basically was looking at what I used to look at when I was a photography major, which is people asking for you to come and shoot their wedding for free to build your portfolio and get experience. And I was like, man, here we are. This guy has the time to write out a 500-word ad for free design work when he could literally spend 100 words and write an ad on Upwork and get a contractor to help him with his dumb project.
It sounds like he didn't want to pay anybody.
He didn't want to pay anybody. And I was like, there's no designers working here that aren't funded. Like, everyone here has a job, has a team. That's why we're here, bro. We don't have time for free projects. Like, what are you thinking? And if your project is so exciting and important, shouldn't you just get a designer? Even if you can only afford 20 hours a week, just fund somebody. I just couldn't believe my eyes that I was seeing that kind of thing go down in this day and age. It was a shocker to me.
Yeah, and like this goes back to this age-old question I feel like we've talked about before, is like when is it okay, or when do you feel like it's okay for someone to ask you for free design work? And like maybe if this guy was you had some sort of relationship with, or like reciprocity with, or something, like maybe,
never.
but not in this context of like anybody out there who's doing this, and getting paid by a company.
This guy's clearly not running a charity. He's clearly starting a business, and as such should expect to pay employees. So that was a real tickle of a moment. I just felt so delighted to be alive to read something like that, because I thought, wow, after 20 years, I'm still reading these same ads. It's just so insulting. I wanted to troll him so hard, but I had to remind myself that I was at work. So I just suggested gently that he find someone and pay them for their time. But
I think that's a good learning lesson. Good lesson.
I hope so. I hope somebody else who isn't so scared is able to just give him a nice good walloping and troll him the way I would love to have, but didn't have the guts to. So because I would love to log in on Monday and read it. But anyway, how about you? How was your week? Another glorious week of easy breezy maternity leave.
Easy breezy, yeah, as usual. Well, as I said before, maybe even perhaps on this podcast, I am now the personal assistant to what is got to be the most volatile and unbalanced CEO ever, which is my child. And this kid just keeps rescheduling everything on me, and it just drives me absolutely insane. And I know, in our roles, like we work with EAs, we work with like executive assistants occasionally here and there, whether it's like for your like design director or whatever, or like maybe, somebody higher up in the company. Because of course you're not going to talk to them directly. You're going to talk to their EA, and that's and so like I feel like I have a window into that work and that world, and just how like, oh my gosh, like just they can't keep a meeting. They cannot keep a meeting.
No.
And that's what children are like. Apparently, it's like you think they might sleep for 30 minutes, but then they sleep for 2 hours. Your whole even when it's a blessing, it's like whatever. Anyway, so this really hit home for me, because I'm starting to sign my kid up for all sorts of stuff. And I get the emails, I get the text messages that say like, like, hello, child's name. Like, thank you for coming in to visit us
Oh.
at the pediatrics clinic. Would you like to fill out this survey? And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? Am I supposed to like go to my kid and be like, could you please tell me what you're rating on, on a scale of 0 to 10? Would you recommend this pediatrics clinic to a friend or colleague? It's
Write
just
a 1-star review on his behalf, being like,
be like,
no,
my child
they
doesn't
pull out needles
understand.
as soon as you walk through the door and stab them in your leg. Get out of this place.
Yeah,
Heck
but
no.
it's hilarious that now I get emails and text messages addressed to my kid that I like, that clearly it's just, it's the algorithm. It's like whoever came in that day, it's just pulling from,
So
the
funny.
first name field, placing it into the email. And I feel like I could not be more of a personal assistant
Love it. Love
in
it.
my home life now.
Welcome to your new role.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
Awesome. Well, without further ado, let me introduce our special guest for today. We have someone who's joining us who really illustrates the diverse experiences and background that UX practitioners bring to the table. I absolutely love it. He is a UX program manager. Our guest is responsible for the success of hundreds of designers and projects across the AWS UX design organization. He's currently a graduate student at the University of Washington, aka UW, in human-centered design and engineering. And to top it off, he served in the Army and served in Iraq. So he's not going to take any crap from you. His younger brother also works at Amazon and occasionally pops into his design reviews. Please welcome Drew Nevins.
Oh my gosh, what an introduction. Thanks for having me. Wow.
Welcome, Drew.
We're so excited to have you. I cannot believe it.
Long-time listener, first-time caller. I don't think I've told you this, Jessamyn, but I was like subscribed to your podcast before I was working at Amazon. So
no, I don't even believe it. That's
totally
too funny.
Starstruck, just excited.
Oh, you and my family and Meg's family. That's
Yep.
our fan base, basically. So thanks for listening. So I am curious. I mean, you are a UX program manager, and I'm not even really familiar with what that is, much less maybe people in our audience. I've heard of design ops. Are you design ops? What is a program manager?
Oh my gosh, wow. Well, there's like a whole, I think there's like a whole industry that is attempting to try to define what is a UX program manager and design ops right now. It's like what we saw, if you've been in tech for 10, 15 years, you saw like this rise of like the DevOps role, where enterprise development was getting so big, you needed to kind of bring some overhead in to try to standardize deployment of software and things like that. And that's kind of what design ops is kind of become. And a UX program manager is one of those kind of job titles that falls under that design ops function of like, how can we kind of standardize and scale design practices. Typically you see it kind of at larger levels.
I was going to ask, like, at what point of the size of maybe a design org do you see these kinds of roles?
I think you see them they're at the team level right now. At least where I currently work, you see them at the team level, and that's helping teams kind of just navigate through the design process from like more of a interfacing with engineers and interfacing with product managers on behalf of design, so designers can do design work. But at bigger companies, I think you see them kind of like at Amazon across different organizations within like AWS, kind of working to standardize design processes to make it a little bit more scalable and predictable for design. So
why does design need standardizing? What's the motivation?
Can't we all just be like freewheeling and do whatever we want?
This is art.
Yeah, it's very interesting. That's a great question. There's in my role right now, I run kind of a design review program for AWS. And what I see in my role is it's consistency for the customer is really important. So, a lot of designers are working on a team that's for a specific product, and they may have very passionate ideas around how to design the interface or the interactions within that specific product vertical for their customer, for that product. But then when you're looking across products, a typical cloud engineer's journey, for example, might not just be your product. It might be like 4 or 5 products chaining them together. And so the consistency and experience is really important. And if every designer is kind of off designing their own perfect interface and their own perfect set of interactions, it doesn't translate very well when you start crossing product lines, which is what you need to do in the cloud. So yeah, that's kind of why you see the push for standardization and kind of consistency at the bigger levels, the bigger organizations like Amazon and Microsoft and Google.
Right.
Yep.
So does it give you like a kick to just be telling everyone what to do all the time and ordering them around?
Oh,
I
my
mean,
goodness.
is that why you love being a program manager?
If only it was that easy. I don't know. I feel like being the program manager of a program like a design critique program, for example, you kind of become the person that everyone expresses their frustrations at and towards, when what you're trying to do is you're trying to help everybody. And so I wouldn't say I'm necessarily ordering people around. I'm more trying to, cajole and convince and influence them to kind of subscribe to this idea that we need to be consistent in design across all these different products. And that's the best for customers. But it can be a hard conversation because designers will come with new ideas, and a lot of times those ideas are great. And it's not necessarily my call on whether those ideas are implemented. We have senior designers at the company that kind of weigh in on some of those design questions, but I facilitate the process by which they're able to weigh in and say, okay, this is kind of an atypical design situation. We'll allow it. We'll allow these, kind of one-off interesting design interactions or patterns because it serves the best case of your customer. And we don't see that it's necessarily going to confuse or impact a broader set of customers that may come here and say, whoa, I've never seen this interaction
Back
pattern.
in the day, when I worked at a place where we didn't have anybody like that, so anybody in like a role like yours, I feel like there were designers who wanted to kind of like win the argument of like, should we standardize it to go this way or in this direction, and or in that direction. And like when people were at odds, it was often just like the bossiest person or the person who like I don't know, felt like they were able to make you high enough on the ladder that they were able to like push their weight around, kind of a thing. So like I don't know, does that still happen with the role?
Isn't that just still the truth in general? I mean, if we really evolved that far, I don't think so.
No, I mean, yeah, so again, I facilitate the process by which these reviews happen, but I'm not the subject matter expert in, what gets kind of shipped and what doesn't. I facilitate those conversations. And so sometimes there are some people in the room that, they have a lot of experience and they've been at the company a long time. And so they're going to have a good intuition for what would work. And then other times there's people in the room that are kind of new and they're coming into this kind of enterprise level design for engineer like cloud services. And they may not be, on board with kind of the consistent standardization camp. And there's some passionate discussions that occur. And I get to sit there and take notes and try to facilitate a way forward. So
God, I wish I could just sit in on a couple more hours of reviews a week and just see what you see. I mean, so speaking of this, I mean, I was so lucky a couple weeks ago to be in a meeting that went really off the rails. And I just took so much delight in watching someone lose control of their emotions and like yell and scream, because I was like, I haven't seen this in years. It's so fun to watch someone really lose it. So,
not if you are the person that's losing it, though.
True.
I will say that.
True. Everyone deserves a good design cry now and then, but this was like it was even worse. It was like a emotional breakdown. What is the most off the rails meeting or review, Drew, that you've ever had the pleasure to witness?
Oh yeah. Well, there's, with all professions, especially design, I think we as designers take our jobs very seriously, and we're in this industry because we want to deliver the best possible experience. But we're also kind of up against the wall a lot of times on design, because products still need to ship, and we can't take forever to iterate on getting the perfect design. And so I remember I was in a review very early on where a designer and a reviewer, like a senior design manager, got into a little bit of a disagreement around just kind of nested components. And it really didn't need to be that big of a deal. And it was more the senior design manager kind of said, hey, we don't do this for accessibility reasons, for interaction reasons. And the designer must have just had a bad day and just said, well, I'm not changing it. And it was kind of sucked the air out of the room a little bit.
Ooh, I love it.
Yeah. And so I just kind of went back and forth, and it's my role to kind of step in and be like, all right, I've taken that feedback, and we'll address this like outside the meeting. Let's just keep moving through, because we got a lot to get through today. But it eventually did get escalated up, and
I love it.
It did seem like a little bit of a silly thing, and I could understand both the sides. I could understand the designer side of like we're trying to ship product here, and this is not so big of a deal that like we need to pull engineering back in to like fix this tiny little thing. And then from the reviewer side, it was, I'm trying to insist on high standards. And so ultimately, it got to go through with kind of the Scouts Honor handshake agreement that it would be fixed post-launch.
What a lie. It's still not fixed, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I would bet my left leg on that.
So you're basically like a conflict mediator, or like, do you ever feel like a divorce lawyer?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we have kind of a joke. So there's a whole team of people that facilitate this process. And the people that kind of take the role that I take during meetings, the actual facilitators, the UX program managers, we kind of have a joke sometimes that we're kind of part therapist and part, conflict manager and part drill sergeant, right? Just keeping people moving, when we have to. So
amazing. I love this. I love those moments. I live for that stuff. I think it's just so fun to witness conflict, because we're always on eggshells around everyone at work, making sure everyone's feelings are good and we're not hurting anybody's feelings. And I feel like when someone just really cuts through that crap and just really shares a real opinion, and it's so refreshing and exciting. It just makes the day, worth living for me. I love it.
Passion too. It's passion coming through. I think that's, at the end of the day, looking at the bright side, it's people feel very passionate about what they do. They're very invested personally in the success of a product or of a design. And so when we see those types of conflicts, I try to look at, there's positive reasons that this is occurring, but we just want to manage the negative outcomes of making sure that we don't ruin working relationships and that products can still ship and move forward. But it's never gotten, horrible, but yeah, no, it always makes an interesting review when there's some disagreement.
Yes. Just a drop of toxicity. So Drew, you served in the military, in the Army?
Yes. Yeah. I actually still serve. I'm in the National Guard, the Army National Guard.
Oh my gosh. Do you have to go on weekends and stuff?
I do. The old tagline is 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year. So I do still get a haircut and shave my goatee and put a uniform on once a month. So
oh my gosh. Amazing. So after you serve in the military and you go and you get yelled at or whatever by your drill sergeant, how is it possible to come back and put up with the people who work in tech? I mean, I just can't even imagine the amount of whining that you probably hear on a daily basis versus what you would be used to in the military, where people follow orders.
Oh man, yes. I think like everybody, we all have kind of different personalities that we assume depending on the social context, right? And I've been in the military 13 years. And, as a kind of in the later half of my career, focused more toward operations as an operations officer. And so, I do this, like I've been doing this professionally for a long time. And the country, the United States has entrusted in me to do operations on behalf of the Army in different situations. As you mentioned, I deployed to Iraq in support of a mission to counter ISIS and extremism in Iraq and Syria. And so I ran essentially kind of a design operations team there for US Army psychological operations, and a couple other capabilities. And so coming into
psychological operations, I don't want to know what that is. It sounds terrifying.
It's funny. It's a lot like design. The US Army, has a lot of people that they've kind of trained in the art of behavior change and influence, similar to how like a marketer or designer would kind of engage their audience. Same thing in psychological operations. Typically, it's more countering kind of adversary narrative. So, for example, in Iraq,
like hearts and minds.
Yeah, well, there's hearts and minds for sure, and then there's also just making sure that the truth gets out around what's actually happening versus the way people want other people to think what's happening. So it's a very interesting field and profession, but very similar in a lot of ways to design, especially design operations, and that you need to have a standard and consistent way by which design is reviewed and approved and then published to ensure that messages are consistent, to ensure that the effect that you're looking to generate is the effect that is generated. And so to come into, for example, my current role, it can be a little frustrating sometimes because I think about it in terms of like, well, if I was doing this for the Army, this is how I would do it. And people would just kind of fall in line and understand like, this is what needs to be done. But I think in the corporate environment, sometimes we end up fighting ourselves a lot more than necessary.
Just the excuses. Sorry, go ahead, Meg.
I was just going to say that you're the third person now that I've met. Two other people I've worked with, or I guess known and worked with one of them, who have served in the military before becoming UX practitioners. And I think that more folks should, because like there is a lot of crossover, as you've mentioned, and on the points that you've mentioned. And also just like super quality, like hardcore people who are, like willing to strive for excellence, I think. And anyway, I guess my thinking is like when people are like yourself, like thinking about kind of what's next after their service, like I hope more people find their way to UX from
that was how I found my way.
I think it'd be awesome.
Yeah, I was inspired to go into this profession through my service in the military because, well, part of it was, in the military, unfortunately, in the government, there's not a lot of Apples or Googles or other companies with beautiful UI and great interactions, lining up to develop software and products for the Army. And part of my inspiration was, oh man, someone can do better than this. And it's gotten better in recent years, but in my early years in the military, going from, on one hand, during the week you have an iPhone and you have your MacBook computer, and then you go in to serve in the military and you're like, what? I feel like I'm going back in
time.
Yeah,
I heard that about somebody who worked in the Department of Defense. Like they had to like surrender all their tech, and then they went in, and it was like these old like CRT monitors and stuff like that.
Whoa.
Yeah. My experience in recent years has been much more positive. I think, not speaking on behalf of the Army at all, but I think that things are getting better, and they're realizing that those interactions at the point of action matter. And so kind of some of the UX principles and design thinking in terms of developing products that are useful, usable, taking the needs of the soldier in this case into account when they're developing these and designing these. We're starting to see that happen more, or at least I'm starting to see that happen more. And I agree with you, Meg. I think like more veterans in design would be great for the community, because they're going to bring a different way of looking at things, a different perspective, different passions, different ideas. And that goes for, any profession. Like, it's good to have a good mix of folks from different backgrounds. But I'm a big fan of the veteran kind of designer. I think there's a lot of them out there.
Oh yeah. I mean, I just thinking, like, talk about a job where you don't want to be hitting the wrong button. Like,
Yeah.
It's like, God, and the consequences. And then also, like, thinking about users under duress, like, they're not sitting in a quiet air conditioned room with perfect lighting and plenty of time to make sense of an interface. Like, they're outside and maybe it's nighttime or whatever, and they're maybe in a stressful situation, I can't even imagine, and having to look at something and make sense of it and then make a decision. Like, it just seems like the ultimate environment for good UX, like where the need would be critical.
Oh yeah. I remember, so this is my second time back at Amazon currently. I worked there previously in the mid-aughts, and there was a designer I worked with when I was a product manager. And it was right after, I don't know if you recall the Hawaii missile test fiasco.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was bad. I mean, we laugh now, but it was really bad for people that, especially that lived in Hawaii, that believed that they were about to be.
Well, I don't know if this is true, but
okay.
I heard a story that somebody, like, in that situation, called up their ex and like confessed that they really loved them because they thought it was the end of the world, and then they got back together. So
whoa.
I heard
I don't
there
know
were
if that's
parents
true.
putting their kids in like sewers to like,
Oh
maybe
my
that they'll be safe. It was awful, right? And it was all in this designer that I worked with in a previous team at Amazon. He did this amazing lunch and learn where he broke down the user experience and the user interface of that system that they used, because it was all public at that point. I mean, it was all over the news. And so he kind of broke it down. And Jessamyn, to your point, exactly, you don't want to push the wrong button, because it ended up being they were trying to run a test, but they actually sent it out via the live alert system.
Oh God. Oh my God. Unreal. That is so crazy. Well, with the time that we have left, Meg, do we have time for some rapid fires?
Definitely we have time for rapid fire, or maybe even one more small question for Drew, or anything, Drew, you wanted to share that you haven't gotten a chance to.
Oh man. I just, again, totally starstruck to be here. I wanted to kind of address in the last few episodes, Meg, like coming back from maternity leave. I remember coming back from paternity leave and people asking me how my vacation was. And so I'm totally empathetic. And it's we can be better.
And hopefully you also get good support for your military leave as well. I would assume that's also something that's like on your mind if you're still serving, that you're working for a place where you're looking, folks like in your same situation are looking for a place that's like solid in their support of that time that you are away, and obviously not on any sort of vacation. Clearly.
Oh yeah. Well, not to make this like an Amazon commercial, but my personal experience has been very positive when it comes to working for a company that supports its veterans. So I've always felt very supported in my current role, and I'm sure there's a lot of companies that do as well. There's a lot of veterans now in tech and in the workforce, and so companies, I think, realize that it's an important part of their workforce and community, and whatever support they can give them, they're doing it. So
that's good to hear. Reassuring.
Yeah. Well, how about we do some rapid fire questions? We haven't done our full list in a long time, but these are just kind of like first thing that comes to mind. So an app or an experience that you use or you've encountered that isn't the worst.
Keeping with the military theme, I got to go with USAA mobile app. It is like hands down the best banking app I've ever used. And
really?
Oh my God, that team over there, they are really doing a great job.
Shout out.
Yeah.
I met a USAA designer at a UXPA conference a couple of years ago. The one that we went together, Meg, in Canada, I think. And I remember they're based out of Texas. I think their design team is Texan.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm a USAA member. So I'll have to try the mobile app. I haven't tried it.
All right. How about a fancy or funny concept or word from UX or the military that somebody outside wouldn't quite get, wouldn't quite understand at first glance?
I'll go with the funny word one. I've always found the word phenomenology to be a funny word and like a hard word to say when you're like, I'm doing a phenomenological study, or my methodology is influenced by phenomenology.
I have no idea what that means. What is that?
So I'm going to attempt to define it on a podcast, and this is going to go in my like professional career. And people are going to be like, Drew, you really failed. I should have had the
that one.
ready to go.
Phenomenology. I don't even know if it starts with an F.
All I can think of is phrenology, which I know is
that's
not
what I was thinking too.
Definitely not the same. No, it's essentially like I'll attempt to explain it in my own words, but for the listeners of the show, I'm sure they will Google it and write in and say, no, Drew got it wrong. But in my own words, it's essentially a design or it's a research methodology where, as a researcher, you're approaching your research subjects by acknowledging kind of your own biases that you're bringing into the research and your own experiences. And you're not trying to kind of be, it's not like a post-positivist look at research where you're trying to like generalize and extract universal truth. You're more looking at it from, okay, I'm a researcher. I'm going to go in and ask these questions, and the questions are influenced by what obviously my experience and background is bringing to the table and things that I'm interested in learning. And by acknowledging that, it kind of removes it from, the bias aspect, or acknowledging that you have bias kind of helps people understand, okay, so the answers that I may be reading in this research will have bias in them, but that's okay because I understand where the bias is coming from. But
so what's the opposite of phenomenology?
It'd be like the post-positivist kind of, I forget there's probably a couple of methodologies out there, but it's essentially, trying to, as a researcher, interact with your subjects in a very
clinical kind of way.
Yeah, that's a great, clinical. That's a great way to put it. Where a phenomenological interview might, like phenomenologically based interview might be more like what we're doing right now, right? Like talking about our backgrounds and our experiences and asking each other questions and not being afraid to kind of insert some emotion and some like personal experience into the answers and acknowledge like, hey, yeah, that's been my experience, or that's not. Like the opposite, that kind of that more post-positivist interview style would be like subject one in your experience. That sort of thing.
I hate that crap. That's why I don't like scripts. When I sign up for a research study and someone reads to me off a script, I'm like, are you serious? You can't get through a paragraph where you just say hello and this is my name and this is what the study's about. You have to read it to me. Like, come on. Like, I get reading the tasks, but not the intro. Just introduce yourself.
You're just good on the fly, Jessamyn.
Well, I hope that I defined these correctly, because I'm thinking of I took a qualitative research methods class in my current master's program, and the professor at UW, her name's Aylin Jorling. She's amazing. And if she is listening to this podcast, professor, I hope that I'm proud in defining these methodologies.
She's got a red pen out in her mind.
Real quick, one do and don't for you as you are keeping in mind, one do and don't that you're keeping in mind to survive the week ahead. There you go, Jessamyn. I was reading that and I screwed that up. So maybe I shouldn't even write these things out.
That's right.
But go ahead, Drew.
Okay, my do is something I try to do every week. Assume positive intent, even when I get frustrated or upset, because running a massive design review program like the one I'm running means that everybody has an opinion around how it should be run. And sometimes that can be a little frustrating to feel like people are getting in my business. And so I just have to remember always, okay, positive intent, people are engaging with this because they're passionate about it and they want to see it be better. One don't. I'll say like fire off those emails that I generally don't. I don't put any person in the to line. I just write them like they're to a person.
What?
Then I put them in my drafts, and sometimes I'll go back and refer to them in my drafts folder, and I'll be like, yeah, I didn't send that, but I really wanted to.
Oh my gosh. Are you serious? That's so dangerous. I can't believe you do that.
Well, you can't put anyone in the to line. It's almost like a little diary like little diary study of like,
Oh man. So it's like an angry letter, basically.
yeah, just kind of like, do you understand your role and my role? And like, like, I don't know, like I could go on. We could do a whole
As
hour.
I previously mentioned in my prior email, or
Oh
in the
my
meeting we
God.
just
You
had.
need to sell access to this folder somehow, because
Maybe
I
I'll
would
publish it
pay.
in my memoirs someday.
Please, you got to save those emails. That's too funny. I
Yeah.
have a
Don't
yuck
worry,
folder
there's none that were ever addressed to you, Jessamyn.
Oh, I believe it. No, I have a folder where I put awful emails. I haven't gotten too many lately, but I used to get a lot. So I have one like that, but I have never thought to actually respond to them. I'm going to try it, but I am going to be so scared because I'm afraid I'll send something. So I'll have to really be careful not to put anything in the two. But I'm going to try this. I love this technique.
Yep. So that's my don't for the week.
Don't hit send.
Don't hit send. Don't just put those in your drafts, and the exercise of just writing it will make you feel better.
I love it. Well, everybody that comes to the end of our show, I want to say thank you so much to Drew for coming on and giving us a glimpse into the world of program management for UX. Please write to us, questions, concerns at survivingux@gmail.com, and we hope you have a wonderful week.
Surviving UX is hosted and edited by Jessamyn Edwards and Meg Kramer. Our theme music is, among other things, the on-hold music for Cisco phones. It's called Opus No. 1 by Tim Carlton and Garrett Beal. Thanks to Drew Nevins for joining us today. And you can hit send on any emails at survivingux@gmail.com that deserve a good design cry on the next episode of Surviving UX.